and the fact that they want to cancel the president. The president who cut taxes, the president who reduced regulations, the president prior to COVID had the greatest economy, lowest unemployment in 50 years, the president who got us out of the Iran deal, put the embassy in Jerusalem, brought hostages home from North Korea, put 3 great justices on the Supreme Court, gave us a new NAFTA agreement, the Abraham Accords, the COVID vaccine, and who built the wall. It's about politics. This is about getting the president of the United States. They spied on his campaign before he was elected. 19 minutes into his presidency, they started the impeachment push. 3-year Mueller investigation, 19 lawyers, 40 agents, 500 witnesses, 2,500 subpoenas, $40 million to find nothing. Impeachment round 1 based on an anonymous whistleblower with no firsthand knowledge who was biased against the president and who worked for Joe Biden. And now it's impeachment round 2. It's always been about getting the president no matter what. It's an obsession that is now broadened. It's not just about impeachment anymore. It's about canceling, as I've said. Canceling the president and anyone that disagrees with them. The Ayatollah can tweet, the president can't. Democrats can object on January 6, 2017, but Republicans aren't allowed to object on January 6, 2021. Democrats say Antifa is a myth. Republicans condemn all violence all the time. The double standard has to stop. And frankly, the attack on the First Amendment has to stop. And stop and think about it. Do you have a functioning First Amendment when the cancel culture only allows one side to talk? When you can't even have a debate in this country, this great country, the greatest country ever? It needs to stop, because if it continues, it won't just be Republicans who get canceled. It won't just be the President of the United States. The cancel culture will come for us all. Right. America's a great country, the greatest country ever. It seems to me that we need to think about how great the people of this nation really are. Think about what we've accomplished in the past and begin to come together as leaders who represent so many great folks across our districts. Think about this. Think about this. In 1903, in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, 2 guys fly this thing they called a plane 100 feet. Barely got off the ground. Barely got off the ground. Amazing thing. 44 years later, Chuck Yeager breaks the sound barrier. In 44 years, we go from 2 guys flying a contraption they called a plane a few hundred feet to Chuck Yeager breaking the sound barrier. And 22 years after that, another American steps on the moon. Think about it. In one lifetime, in 66 years, 2 guys flying 100 feet to putting a man on the moon. That's what this country is capable of. That's what we can do. And we, as the Congress who represent the people who did that, should start leading. Should start understanding what really is going on here. So I hope we defeat this. I hope we can begin to come together and recognize the greatness of the American people and focus on the things they want us to focus on. I yield back our time.
Gentlemen.
And today's actions of the Speaker just confirm that. But frankly, and I've said this before, what else are they going to talk about? I mean, they're so focused on the January 6th committee. What else are they going to talk? Are they going to talk about crime? The fact that crime is up in every major urban area in this country? They're going to talk about the border crisis? I mean, think about this. March was the highest month on record for illegal crossings until April. April was the highest month on record until May. May was the highest month on record until June. Can't talk about that. They're going to talk about inflation. They're going to talk about the fact that the price of eggs is up, the price of milk is up, the price of bread is up, the price of gas is up, the price of an airline ticket is up, the price of the price of everything is up. They can't talk about that. So they're going to be partisan, and they're going to focus on this. But as the leader said, and as Mr. Banks said, I don't think they're going to address the fundamental question. The fundamental question of why wasn't there a proper security presence at the Capitol that day? They're not going to address that. And only one person can answer that question. Only one. Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. My hunch is the reason they don't want to address that question, my hunch is because what happened all last year? The Democrats normalized anarchy. They normalized rioting and looting. And when rioters and looters attacked our law enforcement personnel, when rioters and looters destroyed small businesses, what did Democrats do? They went out and raised money to bail him out of jail, and they continue to talk about defunding the police, and in fact did that in all these major urban areas, which is why crime is up. So they don't want to talk about that stuff. They just want to be partisan. They just want to continue to attack the former president. They want to play their political game. So I applaud Leader McCarthy for saying we're going to do our job. We're going to continue to work and get to the bottom and answer the questions that the leader raised, the questions that, frankly, the American people want answers to. With that, I recognize you.
Thank you for coming on short notice. Speaker Pelosi has taken the unprecedented step of denying the minority party's picks for the Select Committee on January 6th. This represents something that has not happened in the House before for a Select Committee by the historian. It's an egregious abuse of power. Pelosi has broken this institution, denying the voice of members who have served in the military. Jim Banks, a Navy veteran who served in Afghanistan, serves on HASC, chair of the largest caucus in the Republican Conference, and law enforcement, as well as a leader of a standing committee. Jim Jordan isn't ranking of just his first committee, he's done it before. Jim Jordan has served on Select Committee and serves on one now. Made it undeniable this panel has lost all legitimacy and credibility. And it shows exactly what I warned back at the beginning of January, that Pelosi would play politics with this. For more than 6 months, you have a better example of the Senate, bipartisan. Schumer didn't pick who went on of the Republicans. They already have the report done by 2 different committees. 2 main questions. Why was the Capitol so ill prepared for that day when they knew on December 14th they had a problem? And what have we done to make sure that never happens again? Pelosi has created a sham process. Unless Speaker Pelosi reverses course and seats all 5 Republicans, we will not participate. But we think it's too important that those 2 questions, why were we ill prepared? Why did they know on December 14th? Why would they jeopardize the lives of the Capitol Police? We will run our own investigation. We have law enforcement, we have military, we have doctors, we have people from all walks of life. They want to know the answer. The American people deserve that. They don't deserve politics. They don't deserve destroying the institution. No committee in Congress will work if one person is picking all who can serve. This has not happened before. House Democrats must answer this question. Why are you allowing a lame duck speaker to destroy this institution? This is the people's house, not Pelosi's house. We will do our job, though. We asked to do our job. We want to do our job. I may object to the people that she put on the committee, but I respect her right to do it, just as every leader has done before. Destroy an institution for your own political gain. America expects more and deserves more. With that, I want to bring up Congressman Jim Banks, individual who served his country in Afghanistan, served in a state legislature.
I don't care. If you want to do it. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. I'll can shorten mine too.
Pursuant to notice, I now call up H.Res. 1239, a resolution of inquiry directing the Attorney General to provide certain documents in his possession to the House of Representatives relating to the October 4th, 2021 memorandum issued by the Attorney General entitled Partnership Among Federal, State, Local, Tribal, and territorial law enforcement to address threats against school administrators, board members, teachers, and staff for purposes of markup, and move that the committee report the resolution unfavorably to the House. The clerk will report the resolution.
H.Res. 1239.
Without objection, the resolution is considered as read and open for amendment at any point. I will begin by recognizing myself for an opening statement. Like the previous resolution of inquiry, H.Res. 1239 seeks information related to the Attorney General's memorandum directing the Department of Justice resources to address threats against school administrators, board members, and teachers and staff. Because it suffers from all the same flaws, focusing on an invented scandal rather than the real threat facing school officials across the country, I will oppose it for the same reasons and will not take up more of the committee's time on an opening statement. I urge all members to report the resolution unfavorably. I now recognize the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've sent over 100 letters trying to get answers from this administration on this issue. We've sent them to the FBI, to the DOJ, to the U.S. attorneys, to the Department of Education. It's amazing how many agencies were involved in this targeting of moms and dads. You had the DOJ, you had the White House, you had the Department of Education, you had the Department of Homeland Security, and of course you had the FBI. We're simply asking for the stuff from the Justice Department. You all know the history here. We've debated this in the committee, but letter after letter goes unanswered. That's why we're actually pushing this resolution of inquiry. We hope that the majority will see the light and support us in getting information and answers to the questions where now, as I said before, we know of over 24 parents who were investigated by the FBI, none of them charged, but investigated by the FBI for simply showing up, speaking up on behalf of their son or daughter. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would yield back.
Without objection, all other opening statements will be included in the record. I now recognize myself for purposes of offering an amendment in the nature of a substitute. The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.Res. 1239.
Without objection, the amendment in the nature of a substitute will be considered as read and shall be considered as base text for purposes of amendment. I will recognize myself to explain the amendment. This amendment makes only technical changes to the underlying resolution, such as capitalizing the words memorandum and task force and using President Biden's complete middle name. Otherwise, the amendment makes no substantive changes. I yield back the balance of my time. Are there any amendments to the amendment in the nature of a substitute? For what purpose does Mr. Johnson seek recognition? Johnson, Louisiana.
Speak on the